Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janie Lee Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi, and welcome to the podcast. I hope you've had a good week. I don't know if you saw the piece that I wrote earlier in the week. It was in response to, there was an article in the Mail. I'm just going to see if I can actually find the piece while I'm online, or at least I'll tell you what my response said, because it was a few days ago. And at the time, oh my God, it made me so angry. But in the same breath, I kind of knew that if it had been, 9 years ago, I'd have probably loved this piece. The headline was something like Gen Z non-drinker, Gen Z joyless, something like that. Anyway, it was a piece by Jana Hocking. It was a really well-written piece. It was the sort of article that I'd have loved when I was drinking, because it was really funny and basically, talking about, to the soundtrack of Olivia Dean's Rein Me In, how, why don't Gen Z just loosen up, for goodness sake, and, have a drink. And then she's talking about how when she was young, her best memories, she talks about Paris and all the lovely places she went to, and all these best memories were helped along by the wine and the Aperol spritz, and how, how that's how friendships were formed, and that's how she had fun. And you know what, I'd have loved this article a few months before I quit alcohol, because it would have helped keep me in denial. But you know what the truth is? It's absolute nonsense. If she enjoyed that time in Paris, if she enjoyed meeting friends, if she enjoyed being on holiday, if she enjoyed being young, yeah, fantastic. That was despite the booze. It was not because of the booze. I so strongly believe this. She also quotes Professor Scott Galloway, who apparently said sobriety is the worst thing to happen to young people, or something similar. Don't quote me. It's a similar kind of statement, which is fabulously clickbaity, isn't it? But absolute nonsense. If you've read Catherine Gray's book, whether you have or you haven't, you'll know there is an unexpected joy of being sober. Seriously, no one can prepare you for how much joy you feel when you're able to actually be who you really are. Alcohol is not the gateway to joy. Actual joy needs a curiosity, a courage, a willingness to be who you are. And honestly, hats off to Gen Zs, is that a word? For doing this. Seriously, hats off. It's my only regret is not doing it sooner, as you well know. So anyway, I wrote that piece, and presumably there'll be a bit of a backlash against that now, because I'll be seen as boring and party pooper and all of that. But I've seen it both ways. I've absolutely had the alcohol fuel summers. Tell me about it. Many of them, and I know which I prefer. I absolutely know which I prefer. And I now realize that it wasn't because alcohol doesn't actually do any of the stuff that it says it will do on the tin. It really doesn't. So anyways, you might see that piece. I wrote a Substack, and also put it on the soberclub.com if you're interested. If you go to the Instagram, my Instagram post, by the way, you can comment on it if you like. That'd be good. give me some comments to support me. That'd be amazing. Anyways, this week's guest, you're going to love Nigel. I saw some stuff that he'd written about his amazing walks that he does. He started doing it when he quit alcohol. And I thought, let's definitely have a chat. And it turns out that Nigel and I have met before, because we both did the same NLP practitioner training. So we did meet before a long time ago. So I think you're going to love the chat with Nigel. Just before that, just a quick reminder that anyone who has quit the booze, huge well done. I mean, just fantastic. You will be loving life sober, I hope. And if you're now thinking, maybe there's another purpose there for me, maybe there's something else I could be doing, then check out the Sober Coach training. We're filling up for our October intake. Starts with 2 days in person, 17th of October. And it's a very comprehensive premium training that covers absolutely everything you need to equip you to work with grey area drinkers, with people who are quitting alcohol. So check it out if it's of interest. It's not for everyone. I get that completely. But if it's for you and you're thinking, I'd really love to do something where I can give back, where I can use my enthusiasm, where I can work with people who are ready to quit the booze, help spread that message, help spread the message that deters that ridiculous article. We need more and more people who are getting this message out that actually anyone can choose joy, and it is joy. It really is. There is no FOMO needed here. It's the joy of missing out, because sobriety really does rock. We need more people spreading that word. So if you're interested, then drop me a message or check out our webinar. There's a webinar that you can just watch, instant access. You just literally pop your email address in and you can watch that video. It's I'm chatting to Polly, one of the coaches I trained, about, well, it's a whole Q&A really about the whole shebang. And in fact, Polly, congratulations. Polly was 5 years sober a few days ago, and just talking about, I think it was July the 4th, and she was saying that was her Independence Day, which is a really lovely way of putting it, isn't it? So yeah, drop me a message if that's of interest, or go to thesoberclub.com, click on Become a Sober Coach, and you can watch that video and we can get in touch. My guest is Nigel Jones, who is the founder of 9 Kilometers by 9 a.m. It's a health and wellbeing platform. He's a life coach, hypnotherapist, NLP professional, author of the best-selling book, Walking Back to Happiness, The Secret to Alcohol-Free Living and Wellbeing. I love this whole idea of 9 kilometers by 9 a.m. Come on. What is that about? Welcome, Nigel. Thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
It's great to be here. So yeah, 9 p.m. by 9 a.m. with my scaffolding I put around myself. When I stopped drinking, I started walking 15,000 steps. So that's the target I set myself on day 2 when I woke up without a hangover. I thought, I'm going to start walking. 15,000 steps sounds like a long way. And that sort of worked out at about 9 kilometers. And I was doing it early in the morning before 9 o'clock. And being like an ad guy, which I'd been all my life, I thought, oh yeah, 9 km by 9 a.m. works. And
that's a good strap line. Take me back then. Just tell me a little bit about life before the 9K kicked in. What was life like for you then? What's the kind of sober journey?
Yeah, so I was born in Cardiff in the mid 60s, 1966. Just turned 60 actually, and started drinking, I guess, at school in the 6th form when it's really kicked in, and then going away to university in London in the mid 80s. So I guess I probably had a drinking career that spanned about 35 years. So it was from about sort of 83, 84 up until 2020. So 35 years. And in that time, I stopped. The longest I went without a drink was 6 days. Can you believe it? And I only achieved that on 2 occasions. So I was a regular drinker, a daily drinker. I tried thousands of times, over 1,000 times, to stop, having these day ones where you get to day 2 and you might get to day 3. And if you do, you celebrate by how great you feel by having a drink.
Yeah.
And it's going straight back into the loop. So yeah, I tried many times to stop. It was PR and marketing. I worked in the large PR agencies in London and ad agencies. So I was at Saatchi's and Hill and Knowlton and Burson Marsteller, all those big names. And we were out entertaining clients. That's what you did.
Yeah, it was a very big drinking culture, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you wouldn't. Looking back on it, you would not get promoted if you weren't part of that. If you weren't in that group, I guess you could not drink, but hardly anyone I knew didn't drink. Everybody drank. And to get up the ladder, you had to be at the parties.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing, isn't it, for sure. So when did you start to think, okay, this really has got to stop now then?
I've been asked this question a few times, and I actually honestly think that I always wanted to stop. It was like when you're younger, you do it for a laugh, and it's like you let your hair down, and you think you can't have fun without it. It's like the thing to do, and your body's able to deal with it. But having hangovers when you start work and you've got to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and you just go to bed at 3 o'clock and you just feel like crap. I always knew that this was not good. But it was almost like there was a fear of what would it be like if I did stop? What would I do? Who would I hang around with? All my friends drank,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's that identity thing, isn't it? I think people are really afraid of it.
Yeah, it was completely my identity. And there's that old Joseph Campbell line about in the cave you fear to enter lies the treasure that you seek. And it was so true that I stayed out of that cave of alcohol-free living for many years. And really, as soon as I went into it, I discovered the treasure immediately. And it was just amazing. But yeah, it was ingrained into me. It was like my job was about drinking. Getting home after working was about drinking. The weekends were about drinking.
Yeah. And it's just what everyone does anyway. It's just what our culture says everyone should do. But it's interesting that you say that you always knew it wasn't serving you, for a long period of time. Because I read that there was a survey done not that long ago, wasn't there, that said something like it was practically 65% or 70% of people who drink wish they didn't, or wish they drank less. That is a hell of a statistic. And it just shows, doesn't it, that so many people are caught in that trap. They just don't know how to get off it. Just don't know how to get out of that trap.
Yeah, it is a prison. There's no other word for it. You're locking yourself up.
Yeah.
There's no other jailer apart from you.
Yeah.
And I kept myself under lock and key for many years. But when you do realize that, then you do realize this is all about identity, and you change your identity, then you free yourself. The gates of the prison open and you can walk out.
Yeah. So for you, that was 2020, was it? So was that connected with lockdown?
It was right at the end of 2020. So it was December the 8th was my second birthday. My day of going sober and never looking back. And it was, there had been almost a year of lockdown, like 9 months of it. But I carried on drinking through that. But the epiphany I had was I was approaching 55. I was 54, and I just knew I had to stop. I wasn't going to make it to 60 if I carried on what I was doing. And you have to put it in context. It was like I was running, and I'd still run successful businesses. So to the outside world, everyone probably knew I drank, but they didn't know how it was eating me inside, like all that anxiety of, oh God, I really need to stop this, because it was controlling me, and I'd lost control over it. And I guess towards the end of my drinking career, I was probably drinking a bottle of wine a day, definitely, and then more on the weekend. And so it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Yeah. And so what were the first steps you took then when you made that decision? What kind of got you through the tricky early days?
So it was really a complete identity change. So I said to myself, look for patterns in things. And I was obviously following the wrong pattern, because I tried to stop drinking 1,000 times and it didn't work. So what the hell was I doing wrong? I have to be doing something wrong. And with hindsight, I'd realized that it was my identity. What I was doing all the times I failed was I was a drinker trying to become a non-drinker. So my identity was still, you're a drinker. I firmly believed I was still a drinker with this, almost like this massive mountain to climb. And at the top of that mountain was a flagpole saying 30 days sober or alcohol-free freedom, whatever it said on there. It could have been a week, it could have been like 30 days, it could have been a year. But it was always looking up at something I'd not achieved yet. I was doing it. I'd stopped drinking and I'm really going to get there. I wasn't there. And so I said to myself on this time, which is now over 2,000 days since I did it, that I am a non-drinker becoming a non-drinker. And that's a different mindset, because you immediately put yourself on top of the mountain. There's nothing to climb. You're there. And it changes everything. And then the fear or the worry kicks in, is how am I going to immediately adopt the values and beliefs of a non-drinker? Because that's what I need to do. I need to get rid of the beliefs which are still there, but I've stepped outside myself and I'm looking back at myself. I'm now literally saying, look, I can understand what's going on here. I'm taking a sort of third party sort of meta view of the whole thing. And I just changed. I literally wrote down what the beliefs that I wanted to have, what the values I needed to have were. And I said, I'm going to live them. And I'm going to get rid of the old labels and put some new ones on. Just stick them on me. And
I love that. Yeah, I love that. One of the things I bang on about all the time is I won't let anyone use the phrase giving up. Well, no one's ever allowed to say that. Because there's nothing thing,
Yeah, and that's fantastic, because I always say that I stopped. I didn't give up. Because if you give up, there's an implication that it's something good.
Yeah, exactly. That you're missing out totally. And you're right. We do have to be able to put this positive spin on everything. One of the things that I'm just really passionate about is just helping people recognize that there really is nothing to miss out on. Alcohol. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I don't know about you, but when I think back to when I was drinking, I think I genuinely did believe some of the BS articles about a glass of red wine being good for the heart and all of that. I think I actually genuinely believe them, or at least I wanted to believe them. Yeah. So when you've got to step into this new identity, you've got to actually do that work as well, and that logical piece where you actually do look at the truth about alcohol, and you realize we've all been lied to for so many years, sensational marketing, but actually it doesn't do what it says on the tin. It's actually a depressant. It's the most harmful drug. Even one glass is harmful. And if you want something that's good for the heart, have a grape or something else, but certainly not toxic liquid. So there's an awful lot of undoing of old beliefs, isn't there, to have to unravel. And some of those beliefs are really deeply ingrained. And you hear people say, I had a client the other day who said something like, I was feeling really stressed and anxious, and I desperately needed a cold glass of wine. I desperately was craving that cold glass of wine, but I went and did something else. And I'm really proud of myself that I didn't do that, or something like that. So she'd got that piece, but she hadn't grasped the piece that had she have chosen to follow that craving and had the glass of wine, that wouldn't have happened anyway.
Yeah.
She hadn't quite got that piece. Do you see what I mean? Because it's so deeply ingrained in us that alcohol is the answer to when we're feeling pissed off or upset, or we want to boost and we want to feel confident. Funnily enough, it's meant to do everything, isn't it? and it does mess with your head when you, at the beginning, when you have to realize, oh, actually, hold on a minute, everything we've been told is a lie. It's all a lie. It's all just great marketing.
It's interesting because one of the first books I read, and I would say to anyone starting out on this journey, is read as much Quitlet.
Yeah, exactly. The Quitlet's brilliant.
Oh, it's just a godsend. And I read Craig Beck, Alcohol Lied to Me. It was just such a great book. For me, it's like one of the best books of the 20th century. It's that good. The 21st century. It's that good. And I also took in a lot of information from the guys at One Year No Beer, which was still around in those days, a few years back.
Yeah.
So just listening to podcasts, watching One Year No Beer videos, reading books like Alcohol Lied to Me was such a powerful thing because what I got into very quickly was, as I said, I walked every day, and that gave me so much time to spend on myself. So I was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and drinking me would never do that. I was up at 5 a.m. and I was out of the door by 10 past. So I walked 9K every day for the first 2 years of sobriety, every day. Didn't miss one.
Rain or shine, they always say there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothes.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I saw 500 plus sunrises, and
oh wow,
that changes you because you become more spiritual. You become more one with yourself.
Whereabouts did you walk then? How did you work out where you would walk?
So I live in the countryside, so it was easy just to walk out the front door and just take a right, and then you're in a country lane immediately. So there were probably 3 or 4 classic walks you could do, but you just mix it up. It's easy to create 20, 30 walks once you get into it, and you walk the other way. It's 2 walks because the walk is different going the other way around. But it was easy to do. And then as I expanded it, I started traveling around the country doing 9K by 9 a.m. walks, like to a town, and then parking up the camper van and then doing a few walks around there. So it was easy to mix up, but it became like a habit. It became like a new habit, basically.
Yeah. And how long does it take then to do 9K, roughly?
So my process was really about 2.5 hours, but the walking was probably 2. I always did a video on it because I started my 9K by 9km sort of community. So I also meditated for at least 15 minutes, either when I was walking or when I sat down and had a cup of tea. So I'd always have a cup of green tea, just either watching the sunrise or just watching the clouds or watching the branches in the trees. And old me would have seen that as a bit woo-woo, but actually it was just one of the best things I ever did. And I did a diploma in forest bathing or Shinrin yoga.
Oh, cool. Did you? Yeah.
And I really got into it.
Great.
But there was this, when I was early on in the journey, maybe in the first week or definitely in the first 2 weeks, I was listening on my headphones to a podcast. I think it was Tara Brach, who's a great mindfulness teacher in the States. And she was talking about this American philosopher called Thoreau, who wrote a book called Walden, which is a little sort of middle of nowhere village outside New York State. And in the 1840s, he wrote he escaped from New York because he thought it was too hustle bustle to live by himself in this wood cabin and just discover himself. And he wrote this great line, and I was listening to this while I was walking through the forest, and it was like, one step in the woods does not create a new path, but if you step over and over again, the path appears. The killer line, which is, and one thought in the mind will not create a new way of thinking, but if you think that thought over and over and over again, the new process or the pathway will appear in the mind, which is basically neuroscience. Really,
exactly.
150 years before it was invented. And that's the way you change a belief. You change it by literally telling yourself every day the new one.
Yeah.
And eventually that, if it's a record, which is like grooves, really deep grooves down, I call them Pavlovian grooves. You can get rid of that. You can get rid of it by cutting a new groove of where you want to go to.
Yeah, totally. It's just about that sort of being able to embrace that sense of autonomy, really, and the fact that you can observe your thoughts. And actually, I think that's a game changer for some people to start with. I don't think I grasped that, even though I'd been working as a coach and I'd done a whole bunch of stuff. I was very versed in a lot of spiritual stuff. I still don't think I grasped that, because I think certainly towards the end of my drinking years, it genuinely for what was for me, as if there was a voice in my head telling me what to do. And I would do what that voice told me, reach for yet another glass of wine, even though I didn't particularly want one. It really was as though I was convinced that I didn't have control.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was one of those people that came to it late. The fact that, hold on a minute, you are not your thoughts. You can actually stand back and observe them. You know, you really can. It's a bit of a light bulb when you grasp it, because it puts you back in the driving seat, doesn't it?
Yeah. When I started writing a book about this, because I got into it about sort of 4 months down the road, and I thought, hey, I've actually done this. I actually don't even feel like a drink anymore. The cravings that they've got down to maybe 3 or 4 a week, which were just easy to get rid of anyway.
Yeah.
Wow, I've actually beaten it. And I always thought I never would. And all of a sudden I was now doing it. And I started to think to myself, God, I really need to share this secret. I need to tell the world about what I discovered. That's what it felt like to me. Like no one knew about this, only I did. And so I started writing the book, Walking Back to Happiness, because I was walking every day and I was becoming more happier. And it really became my therapy as well, in that the listening to more writers and more philosophers and really getting a grip on building the new identity of who I was, who I wanted to become, was put into that book. And it's funny you talk about the voice in the head, because that is so central to Walking Back to Happiness, because it's all about, I call it the inner librarian.
Yes.
If you imagine that everything that you've ever seen, heard, touched, tasted, or whatever is stored somewhere.
It's all filed away, yeah.
It's all in there. It's in it. I like to think of it as a massive library.
Yeah.
And then if you think of the inner librarian is the person in the middle of your head who decides what we're going to do in the moment. And whatever the thought is will guide that librarian. So if you wake up and say, I'm going to have a shit day today, then the librarian will go to the area of the library, which is where all the shit books are kept.
Exactly.
And we'll start pulling them down and reading them. But if it goes to if you have a great day, I'm not going to drink today, I'm going to have a fantastic day, you'll go to the area of the library where you don't drink.
Yeah, where you set your intentions, it's so key, isn't it? It is. You get more of what you focus on. That's the reality, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Did you, in the early days, did you read the Rational Recovery book by Jack Trimpe? That was one of the ones I found fascinating.
I didn't read it, but I've heard of it.
It's very old. You're talking 50s. He was way ahead of his time, literally talking about the addictive voice, the voice in the head, way ahead of his time. And when I read that, it was like, oh my God, yes, that's what's going on with me. That's it. He was quite controversial in his day, because he literally identified the addictive voice, identified the fact that we can take back control and reframe it, And therefore, in so doing, that meant that the whole kind of AA model of believing that you are a victim and this is not something that you're able to overcome yourself. There was a bit of controversy going on there. It was quite interesting.
No, I'll definitely have to pick that up because, you know, we both trained with the same NLP.
Yeah, with Joe, yeah.
And, you know, from NLP, it's so powerful, the fact that there's this whole sort of thinker-prover element side of the brain. You know, whatever you think, your brain will prove you right.
Absolutely.
And that, but you can use that as a really powerful tool. If you know that's the system, then manipulate it to work for you.
Exactly that. Yeah. If you think you can, if you think you can't.
But it's so powerful that. And I always give this sort of, talk about this like example. There's two people talking and they've just watched a movie, or they're talking about an old movie, but they can't remember the name of the actor or the actress in the movie. And then they give up because it's just not there. And then about 3 days later, they're walking down the road, one of them is, and they go, oh, Tom Cruise. It just comes out. And the reality, what's gone on there is the thinker has posed a question to the subconscious mind, which is, who's the actor? For 3 days, the unconscious mind has been working on it, and then it gives it to you. Yeah. If that's the way the brain works, what about if you change the questions you asked yourself? What about if you said, how is it that I find craving so easy to manage? How is it that I can easily do the weekends without drinking?
Exactly.
And then the answer will come to you, but you've got to act on it. Yeah, you've got to act on it. But it's a great way of controlling your mind. And there's loads of NLP tips and tricks and hypnotherapy things you can use to do that.
Yeah, I think it's just really empowering when we realize we can actually take back control. Whereas, as you say, that prison we were in of drinking, it's so miserable, isn't it? It just feels as though it feels as though someone else is controlling you, something else is controlling you, which I suppose to a certain extent it is. So yeah, just amazing freedom, isn't it, to be free of it? Tell us a bit about the book then. What's in the book, Walking Back to Happiness?
So the book is all about the first 365 days of going alcohol free. So it's split into a number of sections, and there's like the build up to day one, which is called the time to act. It's almost, I've decided, I'm sober curious, I really want to do this. And so you're building up to day one.
Yeah.
And it's all about belief change, starting to change your beliefs then and your identity. And I'll share this with you because I was talking to this earlier on with a client. This is chapter 4 or 5 of the book. Is called the alcoholometer, which is, it measures how much neat alcohol you drink. So I don't know if you can see this, but this is like a bottle of wine, and the markers on the side are how much neat alcohol would be, say, in a bottle of 12.5% wine. So if this was a bottle of Chablis or something, that bit there would be neat alcohol. So if you drank 7 bottles of this, or 8, you drink a whole bottle of neat alcohol.
Yeah.
So over the week, if you're having a bottle of wine a day, or let's say you're having a large glass a day, over 2 weeks, you would drink a whole bottle of neat alcohol. And if you just drunk 2 glugs of that, you'd go blind.
Yeah, I know. It's scary shit, isn't it?
Die. And so the reality is the question is, who would do that? And
yeah, exactly.
and lots of people do. And it's like, it's things that change your mind are when you start seeing the real facts about this.
Exactly. So true.
So first section is about that. Then we dive into day one and what day one is and then what to do on day one. And then it goes through, then it's really done chronologically over so the first month, first few months, beyond 6 months, beyond a year.
Yeah.
And it's all about identity changes.
And I'm guessing you'd highly recommend getting out and walking.
Yeah. I still walk every day, and it's almost 6 years now.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's so powerful just to get your body moving because it puts you in a higher state.
Yeah, totally.
You're in peak state.
Nobody ever really regrets it, do they? It's a bit of a stress. It's a bit of a kerfuffle when you first get up and you've got to put all your kit on. You never regret that doing that.
Yeah, but the tip is to start the night before you go to bed.
Yeah, lay your clothes out.
Well, have it on. Because once the shoes are on, you're out the door, really.
Yeah.
It's not getting out the door, it's putting the shoes on.
Totally. Let me just ask you one more question that I haven't asked you. When you first quit, what was the response from colleagues and friends? Because presumably you'd been the drinking guy for many years. What was how did you navigate all of that?
I kept it quiet for the first probably 6 months to the world. Obviously my family knew on day one, and the close friends knew, but I didn't really tell the world until I was It's really funny because it comes down to like that fear as well, a fear of.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, I don't want to go out there and blow my trumpet about this, and then I end up back having a few glasses of wine.
Yeah.
I really want to do this, and so I needed to prove to myself that I could do it. And I think, to be honest with you, when I really came clean to the whole world was when I hit 1 year, because I knew then that this wasn't a fad. This was
never going back.
I wasn't going back, and every day was deja vu because I'd done it before. So day 366 was another day one. But it was you do meet with different reactions from different people. So you find out who your real friends are. And you find out who your drinking acquaintances
I think that's true. I think the ones that were only ever drinking buddies tend to just fall away naturally. It doesn't normally require a lot of conversations or arguments. I just found I just never heard from those people again. It's just the way it works out. And then other people who come along for the ride, they don't necessarily quit alcohol. They probably carry on drinking, but they respect you. And I have a friend who drinks, but will still bring me a bottle of alcohol-free something for my birthday or whatever. They come along with you for the ride, and that's okay. But it is a thing for people, I think, at the beginning. And I think often, particularly guys, do get very nervous about what's going to happen with that social circle and how they're going to navigate that social circle. And I think it's interesting that you should say you didn't really tell many people. I always say to clients, don't actually share too much at the beginning, because you're doing this for you. You're absolutely doing this for you. And you can get railroaded by somebody else's opinion way too early. Whereas you're doing this for you, just like you would any other health challenge. And by the way, it is the most important thing you'll ever do for your health and well-being. So don't actually feel you have to share too much. It's nobody else's business. You just crack on and you get stronger.
Yeah. And it's amazing how many people open up to you immediately when you tell them drinking. They say, oh, I don't drink much either. And then they tell you how much they drink, and you're going, really? I don't drink much at all, but I have this and this, this.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, thanks ever so much, Nigel. I really appreciate it. And I absolutely love the name. It's just perfect. And it's inspired me to get out. I went through a habit of walking every single day and then just lost the habit. And I really need to get back into it. I don't know if I'll quite manage 9K, but anything's better than nothing, right?
Yeah, take the 9K and by 9 a.m. challenge. You don't have to do 9K. It's all about consistency, really.
Yeah, exactly.
So what I say to people who take the challenge is you don't even need to walk. You can get up and play the piano for an hour every morning. It's doing something that you wouldn't normally do.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. It definitely gives you a shift. So it's Walking Back to Happiness, the secret to alcohol-free living and well-being. And the website is 9km by 9am.com, 9km by 9am.com. I'll put that in the show notes. Nigel, thanks ever so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Thank you.
Yeah, lovely to talk.
And you. Cheers. Have you quit the booze, loving sobriety, but feeling unfulfilled in the work that you do? Have you been wondering about stepping into a rewarding career, helping the growing number of sober curious people to create a life they don't need to escape from? Join us for a free webinar where you can discover your purpose and find out more about what it means to be an accredited sober coach. Imagine yourself working from anywhere in the world that you choose within 8 weeks of starting this program. Go to thesoberclub.com/events. I'm definitely inspired to get back out walking for sure. I think I've just gotten really lazy when it gets too hot. Thank you. And don't forget, sign up to our free webinar if that's something you're interested in. Explore a career as a sober coach. If you're new to sobriety, if you're early days, always tell someone, please join us in the Sober Club. There's so much amazing content in there. We have meetups, we have a private group, we have an online course. We've just got loads of connection and cheerleading. That's what goes on in the Sober Club. So come and join us, thesoberclub.com. Follow me on social media at Janie Lee Grace. I'm very easy to find. If you message me, if I get the message, I'll respond. I can't say fairer than that. I really will. I'll hold that vision for you. I'll do my best anyway. I'll see you same time next week. Oh, actually, one more thing. I knew there'd be something. There is the British Podcast Awards. I've got a listener choice, and I haven't actually got the details in front of me as I record this podcast. But if you go to the show notes or thesoberclub.com, hopefully there'll be a little picture there that encourages you to vote for the podcast. I'd so appreciate it. Thank you in advance if you're willing to take a couple of minutes giving me a quick vote. See you next time. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.